Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to another one of my videos. This one is just going to be a straight up rant, and it's not going to be a flub gun rant where, I'm just talking about loot in general, even though I think GGG made a very poor decision with this league to reduce loot drops. But this is specific to Sekhemas, which if you are a viewer from 0.1, you probably realize that I've done a lot of Sekhemas in my time. I have the fastest ever clear of Sekhemas in sub 6 minutes. That was in 0.1 again, 0.1. I had well over 500 clears in 0.1 alone. We tracked 563 clears, plus I had done some before January when I was doing carries for people, selling carries, and just doing runs myself. I had well over 500 clears and probably in the ballpark of 600 to 650 clears last league without ever getting a last flame. And so a lot of people know me as just that guy that's targeted by GG to never get a last flame. I've done, I think, 70 runs this league. Still no last flame either, obviously. Why would I get one? So here I have a bone to pick with GGG. Because, again, I was not making money off of last flames, obviously. I can't make money off last flames if I don't get one. I was making money off of everything else that drops in Sekhemas. But this is why I have a bone to pick with GGG. There's 9 changes that happen this league that just kill me inside when it comes to Sekhemas. I absolutely hate juicing maps. I think it's silly to spend hours and hours and hours routing towers just to run a few maps and then repeat the process. Sekhemas was something that was still... It was still something that you could optimize. Again, talking about speedrunning, you can optimize your room clears, your paths, your routing, but still being relatively brain off. And that I can interact with chat when I'm streaming, I can watch videos or talk with other people on Discord without it really being distracting to what I'm doing in Sekhemas. So it was a nice balance for me between the absolute chore and work that was map juicing and stuff that was absolutely brain dead like Trial of Chaos where I fall asleep just doing one run. So I ended up doing way more Sekhemas than I ever imagined, and I actually enjoyed it, especially doing the speedruns. So I have a bone to pick as maybe a self-proclaimed Sekhemas enjoyer and expert. First, nerfing Against the Darkness. They nerfed the max life rolls on it, they nerfed the mana rolls on it, they nerfed the attribute rolls on Against the Darkness, they nerfed the radius of Against the Darkness, so I still have one here just to show. This used to be a large radius. It is no longer a large radius. It is a small radius. I actually thought it was supposed to be a medium radius. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. They nerfed the radius on it, as well as a lot of the maximum rolls for some of the modifiers. And already this was a unique that was just littered with garbage rolls. I have a couple here from previous clears that I didn't reforge yet. Here, so like lightning resistance and reduced ignite duration on you. Fire resistance and lightning resistance. And if you've run Desperate Alliance Relics, you'll probably have seen tons of these rolls. There are so many of them, and they are so common. So already it's like, it was something that was not that easy to make money on, doing these Against the Darkness runs. And you just get littered with garbage rolls. Then they made it worse. So you could, in previous league, do the Desperate Alliance run and take your unidentified Against the Darkness and sell it for more than what the Vase Relic would go for. Now, for some weird reason, GGG decided that they have to drop identified. I don't know why they specifically targeted Against the Darkness, because Prism of Belief Adorned, and all the others do not drop Identified. But Against the Darkness apparently drops Identified now, so you can't even take that unID'd Against the Darkness and sell it. Why? I don't know. But GGG is just like, this again, I'm not being serious here, but like, that glitch guy selling Against the Darkness is nerf that shit. Obviously, that's not targeted at me, but I don't understand why Against the Darkness is the only unique jewel that drops ID. Doesn't make sense to me, but apparently does. So, yeah, first thing, Against the Darkness, hella nerfed. A lot of the roles that were valuable last league are not even valuable this league, meaning that the concentration of garbage is just way higher. And this is an example. Dex int rolls were very popular last league. You can get them for sub 2 divs uncorrupted. Even 1 div here, uncorrupted. I don't know if these are price fixed. It doesn't really matter. But there's quite a few in that 1 to 2 div range that it makes me think it's probably not being price fixed that hard. So yeah, the actual roles that are valuable. I mean, I have one here. This is a valuable Against the Darkness. Spirit and gain as extra damage. These are valuable roles. But again, now this league is just even worse than last league, as there are far fewer valuable roles for Against the Darknesses, which just means that running these, especially running these Desperate Alliances, is even worse because you can't keep the unID'd. It drops ID'd, and probably around 98% of them are going to be garbage this league and not even sell for 1 to 2 divs. So that's the unfortunate part about this league with Against the Darkness. Next, nerfs to jewel sockets. So Sekhemas, it litters you with jewels. That was the whole point of it. You got tons of jewels between Against the Darkness, spectrums, normal jewels, time lost jewels. You got so many jewels from Against the Darkness. And last league, especially, Adorned setups were way more popular. I don't think I've seen a single person running Adorned this league yet. Actually, I do actually know somebody. Never mind. One person that's running Against the Adorned. Because we are so limited on jewel sockets that even if you wanted to go Adorned, I was theory crafting some builds. I'm going, at best, you're probably running, what, 7 jewel sockets, 8 jewel sockets, and then taking the relevant notables for yourself. So by the time you put a Megalomaniac in, by the time you put your Adorned in, on a 7 jewel socket build, you're down to 5 jewel sockets to scale with Adorned. Versus just, so you would have normally 6 times 4 without Adorned. You would have 6 times 4 affixes for 24 affixes, and now you would have effectively 5 times 2 times 2, or 20 affixes. And I that extra multiplier is assuming I have 100% Adorned, so twice the value of each of those affixes that are on each of those magic jewels. So even on a 7 jewel socket build these days, it doesn't make that much sense to run Adorned, and that is pushing for extra jewel sockets. You used to go 13 passive points to get 3 more jewel sockets. So let's say I was here, I would spec 5 points and then 8 points to get the 2 here, and then you would go 5 points, then you would do the same, and yeah, so it worked out to about 3 jewel sockets per 13-ish points, or you could say 4 jewel sockets per 18 points would be more relevant. Now you are going 1 jewel socket per 8 points, or 2 for 16 points. So you're running almost half the jewel sockets that you can, or the value of each point for a jewel socket is about half versus last league. It's terrible. So yeah, far fewer jewel sockets are being used in builds, and it means that, again, similar to Against the Darknesses, the concentration of value to those really good jewels is much higher this league, because now people are going to say, okay, well, I mean, I'm only going to have 1 or 2 jewels in my build. I may as well spend and go all out and get that perfect jewel for that slot. Versus in previous leagues, like, oh, I have to outfit 10 jewel sockets. Okay, I'm going to spread out my currency. I'm going to get good jewels in all the slots instead of just getting like 1 giga jewel, right? So that was the first thing, is that the nerf to jewel sockets means that just most far less jewels are worth really anything. Then the next bone to pick. Again, this nerfed my stunling build, but some of the modifiers were just outright removed on jewels, and a lot of them got reduced. So corrupting can't get you a 10 attribute roll anymore. It caps out at 6. You have your quiver bonus, which probably got hit the hardest. Quiver bonus is now capped at 6 instead of 15. This is probably one of the hardest hit mods that still exists anyway. Capped at 6% down from 15. That one got hit real hard. So, yeah. A lot of there was just overall nerfs to jewels. And that hurts a lot of the value of the affixes that you are getting. This one's not as big of a deal, but yes, there are a few affixes now that just are not worth getting, that are rare, so you're not even excited to get those anymore. And again, the more weapons they add to the pool, the more your pool gets diluted, or the more your affix pool gets diluted, because now, let's say for spears, they added parry, they added all the parry stuff, all the spear stuff, all the hybrid damage type rolls. So this is an example of a hybrid damage type roll, the melee plus projectile rolls. There's just a bunch of stuff like that. So I think they added something like 9 or 10 different affixes on emeralds now, all relating to spear use and parry use. So again, the more they add to these the more weapons they add, the more these jewels are going to get the pools are going to get more diluted and harder to hit those good jewels. Again, this is not really not a bad thing necessarily. It means that there's more variety, but it will just be harder going forward to hit those good jewels. This is the biggest bone I have to pick with GGG, is these strong boxes. These unique strong boxes really devalue jewels as well. Because let's say you have one Sekhe player, one person that prioritizes Sekhemas versus mapping, per 100 mapping players. Well, even if these unique strong boxes are rare, 100 players spamming maps versus one person spamming Sekhemas, you're going to get a lot more jewels now from the players that are actually playing maps, versus previously where most of the jewels probably just came from those that are playing Sekhemas. And yeah, okay, players would get the odd jewel here and there from drops, but generally a single Sekhemas run would outweigh those drops that you would see. But now a single one of these ornate strong boxes is guaranteeing you like 5 to 10 jewels, which is crazy. crazy. At the very least, they did not add time lost to this unique strongbox. At the very least. But again, still, I think this was a poor addition to the game, as it further devalued Sekhemas in a time where those jewels, which were a main source of income for Sekhemas players, just got heavily devalued. Heavily devalued. And that one I find unfortunate. But whatever. I mean, at least it's a fun strongbox to encounter. Now we have a few debuffs to player speed. A lot of sources of player speed got nerfed. So Queen of the Forest got nerfed. Obviously, Tempest Flurry build got nerfed. Temporala's build got nerfed. All of this adding together that it's much slower to clear Sekhemas. Then they fixed the wall skip. So they fixed the door skip. Fine, I think everyone expected that. I'm not disagreeing that they should have fixed it. Like, obviously, I agree that they should have fixed it. But it's just, the overall speed of clearing Sekhemas is much slower this league. So where non-Temporalis builds were still capable of clearing Sekhemas in under 10 minutes last league, now it's like, good times are 15 to 20 minutes in Sekhemas. So I'm even running like the Corsair cap for speed through Tailwind. I'm even running Tabula with some movement speed jewels. I got myself some nice time loss with move speed on notables. This one I'm still using the Against the Darkness, but I have a second one to place here if I am actually doing runs. So yeah, there's just a much lower floor. Oh, sorry. A much lower ceiling of move speed for players now. It's harder to really push that move speed up as we did in previous leagues. And this just makes Sekhemas far slower to clear. And considering they devalued some of the main sources of income for Sekhemas players, it just hurts. The second to last point I wanted to bring up is that floor 4 rooms are ridiculously long now, especially those new escape trials. 2 of the rooms are massive, absolutely massive, and they dwarf every other room in existence in Sekhemas. Like, they literally would take over a minute just to route and walk to every single of the death crystals in those escape trial rooms. It is ridiculous how large they are. And then you add in the fact that they also just made some of those rooms a lot slower. Those gauntlet trials on floor 4 especially were just made slower. They added 2 new gauntlet trials as well. They made the existing one longer. So floor 4 was just made significantly longer. And I don't really understand why. Especially with the escape trial rooms. Just felt like, they're like, oh, players are clearing Sekhemas too quickly. Obviously we just need to make the rooms bigger. Like, I don't understand how this is what they decided, but apparently that was the case. So yeah, floor 4 rooms are just stupid now. Are ridiculously large. And last but not least,
also was just too common, the Relic.
Somehow, the unique relic for Temporalis, the Last Flame relic, which was a roughly a 0.2% drop last league, was considered too common. I don't know how that works out. So I did last league over 600 runs, 563 on stream tracked, like January to the end of league, and then runs earlier in the league that I did untracked, and never got a Last Flame. But apparently it's just too common, that relic. It's just too common. So it's even more rare this league. So basically, if you get one, it's like you win the lottery. That, with how rare it is, it's like you dropped a mirror, or you dropped a Calandra's Touch or an Astramentis or something. Like, it literally is that rare in this league, and coming from a specific boss. So yeah, that part is kind of ridiculous. Obviously, I think GG just didn't want to admit that there was a duping issue with Temporalis. But realistically, it probably is that there were just too many tempos out in the market because of the duping. And GGG, instead of saying, oh yeah, it was just the duping and we're fixing it for next league, they're saying, oh, there was no duping, it was just too common, the relic. That's why. That's all it was. It was just too common. A 0.2% chance on something that even decently optimized this league is about 20 minutes long. 15-20 minutes long. Yeah, it's just...
Also was just too common, the Relic.
It's just too common. It's just too common. 0.2% chance after 15 minutes. Just for fun, let's do a quick calculation. Your expected value is obviously 500 runs. So 500 runs times 15 minutes divided by 60 would give you 125 hours straight of Sekhemas runs. Assuming you got one exactly at 500 runs. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yep, too common. 1 per 125 hours of targeted farming is too common. What the fuck, GGG? Anyway, this was my bone to pick with GGG about Sekhemas. It ended up being 20 minutes of bone picking, apparently. So here we go. There's my video on Sekhemas and my problems with GGG and how they are tackling this. And I'm not even going to get started about Trial of Chaos, this league. Then because of the nerfs, Adorn, if you look at the value of the non-100% Adorns, they're terrible. Like, sub 90% Adorns are going for, like, divs. Like, low divs. And Mahu's got nerfed, so there's really not much to go for in Trial of Chaos. Anyway, Again, whole different story. A lot of the non-mapping got nerfed way too heavily, in my opinion. But I would say Sekhemas got hit some of the hardest, as it was content that took upfront investment. Like I can show you. If I stop lagging, thanks to GG servers, please, at some point. I'm not sure I'll be able to show you. Okay, here we go. Upfront investment in relics can get very expensive. So, for example, trap damage reduction and quantity of relics found. This would be a perfect relic. There's one single one for 6 divs. And keep in mind, these 2 slaughters, you need 9 of these 2 slaughters as perfect divs. That's perfect for a perfect setup. So, again, Sekhemas is something that takes a lot of upfront investment to really optimize your farm and get good relics. I can show you the same thing with the movement speed option, and it just gets even worse. $18 to 18 divs is the starting point. And this is offline 6 days, 5 days, 9 days. Most recent one of a perfect movement speed relic, 25 divs. So again, very heavy upfront investment for these, for setups, and that's why I find it disappointing that these runs got devalued. So hopefully GGG addresses the last flame issue. I think that they just nerfed it because there were too many tempos last league, not because, and that was from duping, not because it was actually too common. I really just hate to think about how the game is going to be shaped and how it's going to look if they think a 1 per 125 hour targeted farm is too common. So, there's the video. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you next time.